Start ಮಾಡಿ.
Very good morning to all. I am Dr. MS Kumar, Assistant Professor of Biochemistry and IQAC Coordinator and Organizing Secretary of this International Conference on Recent Advancement in Varied Fields. First of all, I welcome you all to the 5th technical session of this 7-day International Multidisciplinary online conference on recent advancement in varied fields. Respected Principal, Professor Narayan KB, who is patron of this international conference, respected Dr. Srinivasulu N S, Professor of Law, School of Technology Law, National University of Law, National University of Juridical Sciences, Kolkata, West Bengal, respected Srinivasulu, Honorable MLA of Mandya constituency, Government of Karnataka, respected Sri Pradeep Sir, Honorable Commissioner, Department of Collegiate and Technical Education, Government of Karnataka, all the members of College Development Committee, teaching, non-teaching staff, and student of Government College for Women, Mandya. Today, we have the 5th and last technical session of this international conference. For today's technical session, the resource person is Srinivasulu N S, Professor of Law, School of Technology Law, National University of Juridical Sciences, Kolkata, West Bengal. On behalf of the Internal Quality Assurance and Principal of our institution and patron of this international conference, Professor Narayan KB, Sri Srinivasulu, Honorable MLA of Mandya constituency, Government of Karnataka, Sri Pradeep Sir, Honorable Commissioner, Department of Collegiate and Technical Education, Government of Karnataka, and on behalf of all the members of College Development Committee, teaching and non-teaching staff, and students of Government College for Women, Mandya, and myself, I welcome wholeheartedly Professor Srinivasulu for this conference. Sir, welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
A very warm welcome to all the participants who are in the Zoom and YouTube platform on my own behalf and on behalf of the Executive Committee. I welcome all the students, teaching and non-teaching staff of our institution for the 5th technical session. I am very much glad that we have Srinivasulu sir as a resource person in our conference. Today, Srinivasulu sir will speak on trends and developments in intellectual property. Once again, I welcome you all for the 5th technical session of 7-day International Multidisciplinary online conference on recent in varied fields. Now, I would like to introduce Srinivasulu sir. Professor Srinivasulu N S is working as Professor of Law at National University of Juridical Sciences, Kolkata. Sir is a distinguished member of International Council of Jurists, London. He is an honorary member of Canadian Institute for International Law, Ontario, Canada. He is also associated with World Commission for Human Rights, London. Earlier, Professor Srinivasulu N S was faculty at National Law School of Indian University, Bangalore, and University of Mysore. He has been a recognized researcher, writer, and has got to his credit 103 research publications, including 7 books published by peer-reviewed and reputed national and standard publishers, 3 monographs, 9 edited volumes, 15 book chapters, and over 70 research papers, articles published in more than 30 varieties of journals of law, and also from international publishers such as Oxford, London, UK, Penguin, Indian, UK, Lexis, New Delhi, Ankara, Turkey, Omicus, California, USA, and Manuputra, New Delhi. The representative list of his books includes Intellectual Property Law, Dynamic Interfaces, published by Lexis in 2017. Law relating to biotechnology, published by Oxford University Press in 2016. Law relating to intellectual property in 2013 by Penguin Patent Publication, and Biotechnology and Patent Law in 2008 by Manuputra Publication. Sir had the invitation as Max Planck Fellow in 2008 and 2010 at Max Planck Institute of Intellectual Property, Germany, and Script Fellow in 2011 at University of Edinburgh, Scotland. Sir was invited as a resource person for WIPO annual conferences on IPR Italy in 2009, Global Illuminations Malaysia for an international conference on IPR at Bali, Indonesia in 2014, Pilgrim Benajid University for International Conference on IPR at Ankara, Turkey in 2015, Bar Association of Wisconsin, Madison, USA for International Conference on IPR and Biotechnology in 2016, International Congress on Biotechnology, Valencia, Spain in 2017, and 7th Annual Conference on Law, Public Policy and Regulation, Singapore in 2018. So, sir, we are glad that Srinivasulu sir is speaker in our conference. Now, Srinivas sir will speak on trends and developments in intellectual property law. Hope all the participants will get benefited from this lecture. Sir, welcome you again, sir, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you to the principal of Mandya Women's College and the staff and the faculty of the college as well, who have been in constant touch with me and invited me for this conference on trends and developments in different disciplines. And this title, Trends and Developments in Different Disciplines, suits mostly to intellectual property, because intellectual property rights law is not confined to the field of law. It is having concerns in different fields, including science, arts, humanities, languages, social sciences, and all. There is no discipline of education or research which is not covered by intellectual property rights. Such being the case, the title that you guys have chosen for this international conference, Trends and Developments in Different Disciplines, is more apt for the purpose of understanding and analyzing the impact, the influence, and the interface of intellectual property law in different fields or disciplines of education and research. And as such, intellectual property rights law is not a piece of law, it's not an enactment. It is not about a particular discipline or a particular code of conduct pertinent to any one particular aspect. Basically, intellectual property law is all about promoting research and innovation in various fields. Research and innovation in our fields, including science, technology, social science, humanities, arts, any discipline for that matter, any diverse research study for that matter. If you have come out with a novel innovation, novel research and creative pursuit, intellectual property law is going to reward you, incentivize you with the grant of patent, copyright, trademark, design, plant variety, etc., depending upon the discipline that you are from, depending upon the kind of innovation that you are actually coming out with, the kind of scientific, technological, social contribution that your innovation is making. And that will be mapped, acknowledged, rewarded with the conferment of IPR status. With the conferment of IPR registration, the science and technology field, but am I audible? Am I audible, Kumar? Am I audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it got disconnected in between for a while. So what I was trying to say is, intellectual property rights law has got its own trends and developments in the recent past, by virtue of which it is able to promote and incentivize research and innovation in different fields better than before. As I mentioned, the basic philosophy and objective of intellectual property law is to promote research and innovation in different fields of education and research. Such being the ambition, philosophy, principle, ideology, or motto, whatever you call it as, or in the most colloquial sentences, if it is the funda of intellectual property rights law, intellectual property rights law will have to follow the suit of all those respective disciplines which are in progress, which are towards development and innovation. Any progress and development that is taking place in your respective field will be evaluated from the perspective of intellectual property law only. The kind of contribution that you have made to your own field of, say, economics, or your own field of microbiology, or for that matter, language of English, that will be measured, mapped, evaluated from intellectual property law's perspective. Whether it is going to contribute to the existing knowledge domain, whether it is going to have any value, whether it is going to be industrially useful for the mankind, all that will be assessed, mapped, ascertained, and determined, evaluated through the lens of intellectual property rights law. That is the reason why now across all disciplines, it has become now a mandatory aspect that you guys should learn about intellectual property rights law. And it is one of the new trends that irrespective of your field of research and education, you will have to pursue. Because it is not sufficient enough if you are into research and innovation in your own field. You need to know how that research and innovation is going to be evaluated, how it is going to be marketed, in what way government is going to recognize your research and innovation. Realizing that and trying to know about that itself is a new trend among and across all your disciplines of science, technology, arts, social science, humanities, or whatever the discipline that you're actually belonging to. You should be in a position to realize, understand in what way if you progress, in what way if you go ahead in pursuing your research in your own field, can get recognition, can fetch you recognition, can fetch you reward, can fetch you market entry, or how exactly your research and innovation is going to enhance the knowledge sphere in your respective field or domain. All that will be assessed, determined, evaluated through the lens of intellectual property rights law. That's the reason why now across all disciplines, learning something about intellectual property law is a new trend. You need to know on your own, being a scientist, being a technocrat, being a social scientist, being a professor of language, you need to know how exactly your contribution to your respective field is going to be evaluated. How exactly your own research and innovation in your respective field is going to be measured, ascertained, or its value, how it is going to be determined by the government of India. That happens through intellectual property rights law. So, intellectual property rights law is going to evaluate your research and innovation. That is the bottom line. Intellectual property rights law is going to evaluate, measure your research and innovation in your respective field. Whether your research and innovation is going to be valuable, whether your research and innovation is going to have market, whether it is going to contribute to the existing sphere of knowledge domain in your respective field. That will be assessed through the application of intellectual property law. Depending upon your field, science and technology people will go under patent law, trade and commerce people will go under trademark law, language people, art people will go under copyright law, technocrats and engineers will go under designs law, agrarian people who are into horticulture, sericulture, agriculture, right? They will go under plant variety law. So like this, there are segmentation, compartmentalization of intellectual property law, which is basically meant to have enough sphere or appropriate sphere of intellectual property law to measure your research and innovation in your respective field. Because patent is not going to be useful for people who are into economics. Or patent is not going to be useful for people who are into political science, social science. It is going to be useful for those people who are into science and technology. But copyright law is going to be useful for those people who are into languages, liberal arts, right? For people who are into social sciences, for them it is going to be useful. Trade secrets or copyrights are going to be useful. But at the same point of time, law of plant variety, which is going to evaluate, measure the research and innovation in the fields of sericulture, horticulture, agriculture, sugar technology and all, it is not going to be useful for people who are into, say, English, Telugu, Kannada or Tamil, such kind of languages when they are into conducting research and innovation. So depending upon your field, the trend in intellectual property rights law is that, current trend is that, depending upon your field, the kind of intellectual property law sphere application depends. It is not a common, uniform or pan-India or pan-world kind of broader single intellectual property law. Earlier it was there, but now the trend is we are going for super specialization. We are going to measure your research and innovation from your own domain at the ground level, at the macro level. And that is possible through dividing, compartmentalizing intellectual property law based upon your own area of education, research, innovation. That is the new trend. That is the basic new trend in the intellectual property law spheres. Generally, people think that intellectual property law means patent, and patent means any innovation, any research for that matter. For that, you will get patent. Even people who are from languages, social sciences, they talk about patent. They think that patent is going to reward them for their research and innovation. No, patent is going to reward research and innovation only in the field of science and technology. Physical sciences, material sciences, life sciences, right? Broadly, science and technology people, if their research innovation is going to be rewarded under patent law. It is exclusively for them. Such kind of compartmentalization is the new trend now. As I mentioned, if you are into languages, social science, copyright law is going to give you. But for the people who are into science and technology, copyright law is not going to be relevant. Right? So like in the universities or in your own college also, you divide into your college or your university into different departments. Right? Department of physical science, department of say material science, life science, department of social science. Like that you divide, right? Depending upon the kind of knowledge dissemination that takes place through the people who are into the department, who are working in the department. In the similar way, this intellectual property law sphere, which has got influence across all disciplines, as I mentioned, there is no single discipline on which intellectual property law's impact cannot be felt. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, whichever may be your field of research, training, education, you are always measured through intellectual property law. Please remember that. Your pursuits, your knowledge pursuits, your research and innovation will always be measured through intellectual property law. So it's a mandate now. It's a mandatory for everybody, irrespective of their discipline, to learn, to know about intellectual property law. That too, especially when this super specialization has been the new trend in intellectual property law. Depending upon your department, depending upon your specialization, depending upon your field, the kind of conferment of intellectual property rights will take place. To whom patent is going to be given, to whom copyright law is going to be given, to whom trademark is going to be given, right? For your research and innovation in your field, for example, you are into anthropology or you are into philosophy. You also talk about intellectual property law because it is a mandate. It is a mandate now. It has got impact. So what you will get for your research and innovation if you are into philosophy or anthropology? Would you get patent for your philosophy research, or would you get a patent for your anthropology research? Right? Spiritual knowledge, whatever you are creating, whatever spiritual knowledge you are analyzing, the philosophy of life, whatever you are trying to tell and debate about, for that knowledge creation, knowledge analysis, whatever you are doing in the department of philosophy, you will get copyright, not patent. Because copyright is the one which is going to measure the knowledge creation, knowledge generation. Right? So like that, you need to know, everybody will have to know who are into this knowledge field. They need to know for whatever they are pursuing, the pursuits of knowledge creation, exploitation, dissemination, research, innovation. At the end of the day, what you are going to get in terms of intellectual property recognition, how it is going to be measured, your contribution, your research pursuit, you need to know. Every one of you are supposed to know what kind of law is there in place to measure your research, to ascertain the value of your research, to map the knowledge contribution by your research. And that mapping ascertainment is done by Government of India through the intellectual property rights law, through the conferment of some private monopoly, some reward, some incentive, right? Some authority conferment through intellectual property law. And this kind of compartmentalization, that is, depending upon your discipline, you are going to get different kinds of IPR, intellectual property rights law. It's not a uniform, right? There is no uniform conferment of intellectual property monopoly for any kind of research and innovation across your disciplines. There is a compartmentalization depending upon the appropriateness, depending upon the kind of background that your discipline, your research innovation is having. To be able to go for appropriate measurement, appropriate valuation for your research and innovation, this kind of compartmentalization is done under intellectual property law. As I mentioned, depending upon the field that you belong to, science, technology, or arts, this compartmentalized intellectual property law is going to get applied. For the sake of your familiarity, you guys must be having some brief familiarity as well on this. But for those people who do not have clarity on this, let me give you the kind of subjects, the kind of disciplines that would fall under the respective spheres of intellectual property law, so that things will be very clear. There are 8 different fields of intellectual property law. Remember, patent, copyright, trademark, designs, semiconductors, trade secrets, geographical indications, and plant variety. 8 fields, right? And this division of intellectual property law into 8 different fields is like you have divided your college or your university into different departments. As simple as such. Now, patent law talks about promoting research and innovation in the field of science. So if you are into science, remember that you are going to get patent for your innovation, right? Patent is the measurement, reward or award for your research and innovation in the field of science and technology. When I say science and technology, ranging from physical sciences, chemical sciences, material sciences till life sciences. Engineering is not covered, okay? Because engineering is covered under the industrial designs law, which is another field of IPR. Our civil engineers, our electronic engineers, computer engineers, right? Communication engineers, they do have different compartments, right? So all those people, their research and innovation would go under designs protection, because engineering is all about beginning with designing some craft. Then you go about industrially producing it. So the beginning point of engineering is designing, conceiving an idea and designing the machine, designing the aircraft, designing the automobile, etc., etc., right? So keeping that in mind, designs law is created, which is going to reward research and innovation in the field of engineering, right? So science, technology, engineering is over. Now you are into commerce, you are into trade, you are MBA, you are BBA, you are MCOM, right? Your research and innovation with respect to catching the market, capturing the market, catching the attention of your customers, right? Basically, you talk about this financing the investment, investing in the industry, financing the entrepreneurship, right? This is in general the fields, the area of your major areas of your work. So your knowledge pursuits or your research and innovation over here like this would be protected under the trademark law, because you are dealing with the trade at the end of the day, right? Commerce, MBAs, BBAs, MCOMs, all the you people, you are actually dealing with the trade. So you are actually creating the knowledge, innovative knowledge with respect to how to handle trade, how to handle industry, how to capture market, how to impress upon the customers, right? So that will be recognized, mapped, rewarded by conferring you a trademark, because you are making a mark in the trade. You are making a mark, your own identity, your own goodwill, your own branding, name, fame, reputation, whatever, in the market. So depending upon that creation of yours, where you are actually having your own mark in your own field, in the market, in the trade, trademark is going to be conferred on you, which is an intellectual property for you people who are into commerce and trade. Now you assume that you are into languages, English, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, Telugu, whatever, Hindi, all that. You are into languages, or you are into social sciences, economics, political science, sociology, right, etc. So what kind of research and innovation you are going to dwell in these fields? You are going to write novels, poetry, poems. You are going to prepare skits, drama, filmmaking, or you are going to analyze the social structure, social movements, social consciousness, economic analysis, economic theory, right? Political institutions, political philosophy, right? All these things. You are actually trying to handle the social happenings and happenings in the field of liberal arts and languages, right? In an artistic way, in an authoritarian way, you are going to analyze the developments in your own respective social sciences or languages. So you are going to stamp your authority on that particular subject through exploiting the existing knowledge in those spheres and adding something more to it liberally in an artistic way. You are having the authority on that. That's why your authority and authorship in terms of your contribution to social sciences and the languages is going to be rewarded through the conferment of copyright, because you have created knowledge, and on that knowledge you have the authority, and you are going to be the author. And as an author, you will have the right to copy. As an author, you are having the right to stop everybody else from copying it, right? Again, so depending upon that the scientific equation, whatever is going to be held with respect to the kind of research innovation that you are contemplating, the kind of IPR conferment takes place. So social science research, language research is going to be measured through conferment of copyright. Okay. Now, you are into traditional, conventional, customary works. Assume that you are actually not into any formal education, right? You are neither a scientist, you are not an author or whatever, but you have been using some knowledge with respect to some production, and that knowledge has been handed over to you by your previous generation at your local levels or rural domestic levels. You are actually working in some small scale industry, rural industry, village industry, cottage industry, right? Where your working is dependent upon the traditional knowledge or the knowledge that has been handed over to you by your previous generation, and they too have done like that. In such case, where you are using traditional knowledge, for example, you take weaving of Mysore silk, weaving of Kanchivaram silk, weaving of Banaras sari, right? Preparing Mysore pak, Dharwad peda, right? There you need not possess any MSc degree for that, right? And those people have been, these things have been produced since centuries. Even before the concept of university education could get established in India, even before that, we know all these products, right? Darjeeling tea, Nilgiris tea, Coorg coffee, right? Within Karnataka itself, we have a number of such things where no formal education is required. Dharwad peda, Mysore pak, Channapatna toys, right? There, no formal education, skill acquirement is required. And that skill acquisition, skill possessment, skill ascertainment, skill improvement is because of the knowledge, traditional knowledge, cultural knowledge, household knowledge, community knowledge, right? Tribal knowledge, village knowledge, whatever they have acquired from their previous generation. So such kind of knowledge, exploitation and innovation, if you are into, you get geographical indications protection, because you are coming from a particular geographic locality, banking upon the cultural, traditional heritage, bestowing whatever is there in that particular locality. You are actually possessing some skill that you are trying to develop, that you are trying to innovate. For that, such kind of innovation research, which is completely informal and traditional knowledge based, you get geographical indications protection. And geographical indications protection is IPR for you who are into traditional cottage industries, like I mentioned, Mysore silk, Kanchivaram silk, right? Uti apple, like that, Dharwad peda and all. Okay. Now, assume that you are into agriculture, you are into horticulture, sericulture. Basically, you are into agrarian world, MSc agriculture, horticulture, sericulture, right? There you are actually going into research and innovation. By virtue of that, what you are going to do, you are going to come out with a new variety of rice, new variety of sericulture, right? New variety of plant, right? So within the plant species or plant kingdom, whatever you call, you are coming out with new innovations, new varieties, new variety of rice, new variety of, say, brinjal, tomato, or sericulture variety, silk variety, whatever. For such kind of innovations, you are going to get plant variety protection, because you are adding new variety of plant with respect to one particular botanical denomination, say horticulture, sericulture, agriculture, whatsoever, right? So such kind of farm related innovations, agrarian related innovations, you are going to get plant variety protection. If you are into, say, electronics, computers, you are developing a software, you are a hardware scientist, there you are going about some research and innovation. You have created some new semiconductor. You created new integrated circuit. Basically, you are into computers and electronics, including space shuttle preparation, right? Rocket preparation, manufacturing, all that, right? Because all these things dependent on electricity and electronics. So your research innovation in the field of electronics, space research, or computer research by using softwares, semiconductors, right? All that is going to get rewarded through the conferment of semiconductor integrated production. That is intellectual property law for you. So now you guys must be having the clarity. So which fields would go under which area of intellectual property law? So that a division of intellectual property law, depending upon the segment of yours, field of yours, is the new trend. You are not going to get patent for every kind of research and innovation. Patent is only for science and technology. So likewise, your entire knowledge sphere, knowledge dissemination sphere can be classified, compartmentalized, divided, diversified through the intellectual property law, which is basically for the purpose of measuring, mapping the kind of knowledge creation that you have gone about, the kind of research and innovation that you have come out with, the kind of value addition that it is going to make. And for that value assessment, mapping, this compartmentalization has been mandated now under intellectual property law. Because through patent only you can measure the innovation of research and innovation, science and technology. Through the conferment of copyright only, your research in social sciences and languages can be properly measured. Through the conferment of trademark only, your research in trade and commerce, market-oriented studies can be measured. Through designs protection only, your research and innovation in the field of engineering can be measured. Likewise, not just for the sake of glamorous or fancy classification I'm talking about. This classification, compartmentalization, which is a new trend in the sphere of intellectual property law, is basically meant for having that proper yardstick, proper measurement with respect to mapping, evaluating the kind of knowledge that you have created, the kind of innovation that you have come out with, the kind of creativity that you could embark on, the kind of contribution in terms of knowledge creation and also in terms of innovation. To arrive at appropriate denomination, to go for appropriate mapping and knowledge evaluation, this compartmentalization has been done in the recent past, which in itself is a great trend among us to intellectual property law. This is one, compartmentalization with respect to different disciplines for helping out the government of India to go about appropriate way of mapping of knowledge creation or innovation. The second trend that is now trending in the intellectual property law is that for the purpose of incentivizing and rewarding, promoting research across various fields, intellectual property law, which is basically meant for promoting merit in knowledge creation, knowledge utilization, knowledge exploitation, knowledge innovation, in terms of adding value to your respective field of science, technology, language, arts, trade, whatever. Alongside that, nowadays intellectual property law is all about talking about the new trend is that if it is a trade related, if it is going to have market value, your research and innovation, even if it is slightly seriously not meritorious in terms of your own field, it is not having that great scientific or technological standards, but has got market, but has got a industrial demand. In such cases, also keeping in mind the market demand, economic viability, intellectual property law is now trying to promote such type of innovations which are less scientifically meritorious, or known innovations with some modification, improvisation are also encouraged now. That knowledge is known to everybody, that innovation is known to everybody, right? That market trend, business method is known to everybody, right? That semiconductor or mobile or computer is known to everybody. That agrarian plant variety, botanical variety is known to everybody. But what you have done, you have gone about slightly improvising it. You have modified certain traits of it. You happen to uplift its face value, right? So minutely there and here you have made changes, advanced its techniques, or enhanced its performance, yield, functioning whatsoever. But substantially, it is there already in the public domain. So it is not going to be seriously contributing to the development of your respective field, because it is there already. But what you have done is, you have gone about improvising its functioning. You have improvised its performance, because that improvised version is having market demand. That enhanced performance is having market demand. that business method with more variables getting added to it has got demand. So in such cases, the current trend is that even if your research and innovation or your creative pursuits are not seriously contributing to your respective domain, respective field of science and technology, or arts, social science, languages, whatever, still you are going to get intellectual property rights, provided you demonstrate industrial demand, market demand, or economic viability of it. So what I'm trying to say is, if there is market for your research and innovation, even if it is not going to seriously contribute to the knowledge domain, still you are going to get IPR because you are having market demand, right? So initially, intellectual property rights laws, philosophy, ideology, mandate, funda, everything was to promote science, research and innovation in different fields, including science, technology, language, social sciences, trade, whatever may be your field of discipline. In your respective discipline, intellectual property law would like to promote innovation, furtherance of the knowledge, addition of further knowledge to the existing domain, improvisation of knowledge, creation of knowledge. Right? This was the funda earlier. But now the current trend is that even if you are not seriously going to contribute to your field, you have not seriously contributed to the knowledge creation, it is not scientifically meritorious product or process, meritorious innovation, still you are going to get a patent or your respective IPR, copyright, if you can demonstrate that there is a market demand for that. I will give examples also. You take, for instance, in the software field, different versions come out, right? Android version 1, Android version 2. Similarly, in case of mobile phones also, you get different versions. Apple 10, Apple 11, Apple 12 Pro, right? Similarly, Samsung, Redmi, every kind of smartphone comes out with new versions. Even in case of your Windows also, Windows 98, 2000, XP, like that. Even in Android technology also, you are getting new versions, right? But looking from the intellectual property laws perspective, these new versions are not going to be the latest versions or advanced versions, whatever we are contemplating in the field of, say, mobile phones or computers, are not seriously contributing to the knowledge development, because Android version is already there. Your Windows version is already there, right? So substantially it is similar. It is there already in the nature. There and here you are adding few more traits into it. You are improvising it. You are probably enhancing its pixels in case of smartphones, or enhancing its RAM, right? And things like storage capacity, things like that. But it's not completely new. But for that improved version, advanced version, modified version, there is a serious demand. Once you release the new version, old version will not have demand. But that old version is the original contributor as far as the knowledge domain is concerned, right? Based upon that old version only, you have gone about creating a new version by advancing it, slightly changing or modifying it. But this modified one has got more demand than the substantial one, because market demands addition of new features. Market would like to go about continuous progress. Every year, add a couple of more features to our tried suite and release a new version. So every new version will have a separate IPR, because that new version is having market demand. In new version, what maximum you have done? From 14 GB, you have increased it to say 16 GB. Right? From 32 megapixel, you have made it to 36 megapixel. Right? So not a serious contribution. There and here some addition, or you have increased the length of display, or storage capacity. When here you have reduced the size or weight of your gadget. Right? Not substantial improvisation, not substantial creation, slight modifications there and here, alteration. But looking from the intellectual property rights laws basic philosophy, such contributions are not going to get any kind of reward recognition. But the new trend is that if there is market, if there is industrial demand, even whatever smallest, remotest contributions that you are going to make by the improvisation, advancement of already existing stuff, that advancement, slight advancement, minute modification, all that is going to get you separate new type of new rights with respect to that particular innovation. And under all IPRs, patent, copyright, trademark, etc. So what I'm trying to say is the current trend in intellectual property law is that your innovation, if it is having market demand, irrespective of the fact whether that innovation research it has driven for the knowledge contribution or not, if it is having market demand, you are going to get IPR. Respective IPR, patent, copyright, trademark, whatsoever. So from the stages of assessment of knowledge value, addition of knowledge, contribution in terms of knowledge to your respective field, from that stages, now we are going to the stage where you are measuring market contribution, market demand, not knowledge value addition to the respective field. We are actually now looking at market only, not your respective field. Science, technology, language, trade, commerce, or your social science, whatever. Right? So initially, intellectual property law, which was aiming at measuring the knowledge creation in your respective field, measuring knowledge contribution to your respective field, knowledge addition to your respective field, substantial knowledge exploitation in your respective field, substantial innovation in your respective field. From that stage, now we are slowly leaving that field and we are looking at the market only. If there is a market demand, forget about knowledge creation, knowledge value addition, whatsoever. You are granting the respective IPR. That is the new trend. So, not from knowledge perspective, your intellectual property law is going to be is getting conferred now. Your research and innovation is not going to be measured from the perspective of knowledge, but it is going to be measured from the perspective of trade, market, industry. So that is the new trend now. As I mentioned, in the field of patent, improved versions are given patent protection. For example, already there is a product, already there is the innovation, for which there is already a patent granted, but you have gone about slightly modifying it, improvising it, and that modified, simplified version, if there is a market demand that you can demonstrate, you will get a new or separate patent for it. In case of copyrights also, you need not always write a book, you need not always compose music, or you need not always go about poetry, prose, whatever. If you can compile 10 different things and wrap it under one go as an editor, as a compiler, right? For that also you are going to get a new copyright. So you need not be the author of a book, author of a novel, or author of any social science or economics, political science related write-up. Even if you are a compiler, editor, database handler, creator, for that compilation of yours, what you have done there, you have compiled 10 different works or the works of 10 different people under one particular theme. For that compilations also you are getting the copyright now. Earlier it was not the case. You ought to be the author. You ought to have written the book, or you ought to have created that article, story, whatever, on your own. You are not allowed to compile some 10 or 20 people's stuff and bind it together by following a theme, right? So that is now a new trend under copyright law, encouraging compilations, encouraging edited volumes in not only languages but as well in social science field also. In case of trademarks, which is basically meant for conferment of IPR for commerce management or trade people, earlier we used to go for mapping the goodwill, name, fame, and reputation of market entrepreneurs in general. Now the current trend is that the goodwill, the trademark recognition is happening without goodwill also. Even without goodwill also you can get a trademark. You can explain the trademark. So goodwill is not essentially going to get carried with the trademark, unlike earlier, because earlier the funda was that trademark is all about goodwill only. It is a goodwill ambassador, goodwill identifier. But that trend is now getting slowed down. Without goodwill also you can go about having a trademark, because trademark is measured from the perspective of market identity. Through trademark, through your business title, or through your domain name website, you are going to get market identity. It may not reflect your goodwill, right? It might represent or sometimes may not. Both are there. Further, in the same field of trade, commerce, and business, you have gone about compartmentalizing the goodwill carrying as well. Not only the product mark or trademark, you are nowadays we're talking about collective wisdom. If you have five, six different businesses, you can compile, put together all the businesses, you can have only one trademark, collective mark. If you are into, say, insurance, banking, mobile services, or internet services like that, you can get service mark. So that uniformity has gone now. Any business entrepreneurship will get trademark. That was the trend earlier. Now, there you are talking about dividing the market into food industry, service industry, automobile industry, textile industry. So depending upon the industry that you are into, you are going to get a similar kind of mark. Textile industry, textile mark. Service industry, service mark. So like that. So within the trademark domain itself, we have gone about now again compartmentalization depending upon the market that you are actually into. So that is a new trend now, right? In the field of designs, earlier design was meant to be only protecting automobile industries, the shape of outlook of automobiles industries, automobile innovations, say your cars, your trucks, buses, and all that, such kind of other automobile or industrial works. Their design, in the sense, their outlook, a typical outlook that your Maruti Ridge car will have, or our premier Padmini car will have, right? Range Rover car will have, Adi car or Benz car will have. That outer layer is actually basically protected by the industrial design to facelift, to give uplift to the face value of the industrial articles. You go about creating a unique kind of a design. Earlier, it was the only objective of design law. Now, the current trend is that you are not just confined to provide outer layer of these automobile or industrial articles. You are now talking about computers and smartphones also. You are also talking about the outer layer, the designing of your smartphones. Take, for example, the Apple's ad. How beautifully they try to portray the outer shape of Apple phone or our Oppo phone, right? Because look matters. Now, look is not just confined to automobile. Look is important for every kind of industrial goods. So, in the field of computers, electronics, even the outlook of space shuttles also matters now, because people are going to reside there for months together, and they are going to go into the space. So, that outlook business, which was earlier confined to automobiles and such other industrial innovations, now it is going to be there across every kind of goods, including your smartphones, laptops, or your even toys that kids enjoy with, and also up to the space shuttles. So that is a new trend now, talking about outlook everywhere in every business related products, including electronics or computers. That we call as designing the layout of space shuttle, designing the layout of a computer, designing the layout of your smartphone, and giving a typical outlook to your smartphone, space shuttle, or for that matter, your computer. So that is a new trend now under the designs law as such. In the field of plant or agrarian economy, as I mentioned earlier, the issue was that only agrarian, typical agrarian in the sense of consumable foods, encouraging research and innovation in only those agrarian or food related fields IPR was doing, IPR was promoting. Now, in the field of sericulture also you are promoting research and innovation in sericulture, research and innovation in horticulture, right? Cell culture, every type of agrarian or related associated research and innovations are now getting IPR protection. So there also the new trend is that you are expanding. In fact, you are expanding your canopy. You are expanding your domain sphere. So in the agrarian field also, earlier IPR conferment through plant variety laws was only confined to encourage the food crops. Now you are encouraging other crops also, sericulture, right? Cotton, to promote fabric or textile industry. Or you are also talking about promoting horticulture, because horticulture products are having great demand for export also, right? Because of that, now you are talking about conferment of plant variety protection or IPR protection in agrarian associated fields as well, right? So that is the new trend now. So what I'm trying to say is, across the IPR spectrum, by covering all your fields of science, technology, engineering, trade, commerce, social science, languages, and also law, the new trend is that more impetus is given to economic viability, more importance is given to industrial demand, market demand, than the important that is given to the contribution that your innovation is making to your respective field. Earlier, classically, IPR was meant for measuring intellectual contribution, because it is titled as intellectual property rights law, right? So it was supposed to measure intellectual contribution in your respective fields of science, art, social science, whatever way you have contributed intellectually. So measuring that intellectual contribution, knowledge creation was the basic funda of intellectual property law. But the current trend is that intellectual property law is measuring, promoting not intellectual contributions seriously, but industrial contributions, market contributions, business contributions, entrepreneurship contributions. So even if it is a less intellectual contributory, if it is having market demand, we are promoting it, we are pushing it, because at the end of the day, market viability, economic viability is going to have their significant presence in the contemporary world, where things are completely under the global market. Liberalization, privatization, globalization, LPG concept we talk about, right? Global market, single market, all that. So in that scenario, it has become now rather mandatory for everybody to think in terms of a commercial value generation, to think in terms of marketing their stuff, to find market for the research and innovation. So finding the market is the basic funda now, right? Once you get to know that there is some market demand for this kind of products, then you will come and work about creating it, innovating it. Earlier, it was not the case. You will complete your writing, innovation, knowledge creation, whatever. Then afterwards, you will go about finding the market. Sometimes you will not bother about market also. That was the trend, because it was always for intellectual contribution, and IPR conferment was also for measuring intellectual contribution in the respective fields that you are actually working for. But now, intellectual property rights law is for measuring industrial contribution, market contribution, trade viability, economic viability, commercial viability. In the sense, entrepreneurship values, not intellectual values, not intellectual contribution, entrepreneurship contribution, right? So that is the new trend now. We have shifted the IPR laws application from intellectual contribution perspectives to entrepreneurship, in the sense market demand, trade viability, entrepreneurship contributions. So that is the new trend. Measuring your research and innovation from the lens of entrepreneurship, from the lens of market, trade, or industry. That is the contemporary and current trend across all the spheres or disciplines of intellectual property law. So these are the two trends that current framework of intellectual property law is contemplating. Trend number one is compartmentalization of a broader intellectual property law framework, where depending upon your field, you are going to get a customized, super specialized sphere of intellectual property law. As we debated, for science patents, for social science and language as copyright, for trade and commerce a trademark, for engineering you will get designs, right? For cottage industries, village industries kind of innovation, geographical indications, for agrarian kind of research, plant variety, right? Different compartmentalization of intellectual property law, or compartmentalization, diversification of intellectual measurement through the conferment of different types of IPR rights depending upon your field of activity. That is one trend. Second trend is that shift of intellectual property laws philosophy or ideology from the stages where intellectual property law was meant to measure and map, reward, incentivize, promote intellectual contribution. From that stage, now we have shifted to the new trend, which is market contribution, mapping market contribution, industrial contribution, or entrepreneurship qualities, entrepreneurship capabilities, values. That is the new trend, current trend. So these are the two things that I wanted to put across you guys as a matter of presenting, demonstrating, and analyzing the two contemporary trends and developments in the sphere of intellectual property law. I hope with this compartmentalized intellectual property law trend and the trend of promoting entrepreneurship through research and innovation among us different disciplines, intellectual property law is going to get done. The kind of knowledge dissemination and economic viability creation. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Sir, thank you very much, sir, for your excellent lecture for this 1 hour. So actually, this is the second lecture we have delivered for our college. One is in the previous webinar, which is organized in the month of June 2020. Sir, when I asked you for to deliver a lecture in our international conference, you just said that Waka Kumar, I can. So I appreciate and thank you, sir, for having zeal of spreading your knowledge all over the world. Definitely our student and our participant get benefited from your lecture. Once again, I am very much thankful to you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now,
thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much. So now, the participants can ask the question to sir. So the participant can unmute their mic and they can ask the question. Now it's open for discussion. Sir, Tyagara sir. Sir, Srinivas sir is there. Sir, Srinivas sir.
Good morning.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Professor Srinivasulu.
Yeah, Tyagara, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. It was a wonderful, enlightening lecture on the IPR issues, particularly in the SNT domain. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the students, particularly at the PG and the UG level, are not aware about these issues. So maybe something needs to be in the curriculum itself. Something related to IPR issues should be included, so that the awareness is created in them. Otherwise, these issues, when they will realize only when they have to face it in the real life. So that was my suggestion. Probably because since you will be chairing a lot of this curriculum committees in the UGC also, so I suggest you to press on this issue also for the inclusion in the curriculum, particularly at the UG and PG level itself, for the brainstorming as well as the awareness on the total issue, so that they are aware on this. So, but
true, your suggestion is well received. Indeed, what you said is true. Now, I think across all disciplines, BSc, BA, and BCom, there is one common subject, no? Human rights, environment, and constitution. That paper is there. So
Okay.
in that paper itself, there could be one unit on IPR, because as I mentioned in today's presentation, there is no field which is not influenced by IPR, because every field will be having its own innovation and research, right? And
Right,
research
sir.
and innovation is measured through IPR. So
Yes,
it is a mandatory now that all disciplines, ranging after the +2 level itself, BA, BSc, BCom or BTech, whatever you are studying, there
Yes.
should be introduction to IPR. Minimum knowledge about IPR should be there. Like you guys, I mean, these guys are now learning about human rights, environment, and constitution, right? Paper, I believe. In BSc, BCom, BB, and BTech people. For past 10, 12 years, it is there. Of course,
Okay.
not during our time, but in the
Yes.
past 15 years or 10 years, it
Okay.
is a mandatory paper now. 50 marks mandatory paper for all graduates now. So
Nice.
that paper can be made as 100 marks paper and add IPR aspect as well, because it is pan disciplines.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful enlightenment on the IPR issues. Thanks again.
Thank you, Tyagaraja. Thanks for joining.
Sure. Thank you.
Sir, actually, the Tyagaraja sir is also one of the resource person in our conference. He spoke on governance mechanism and mitigation of COVID-19. That is on
Okay.
next Wednesday. That is 10th of this week.
Yeah, Tyagaraja is a very industrious person. So, and he currently is working at government level, so he is the right person to talk about it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Probably you are aware I am working on the S&T policy issues only.
Yes,
because
yes.
I'm dealing with these subjects only.
True,
We'll be in
true,
touch,
true.
sir. Thank you.
Definitely, Tyagaraja. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much. Nice to see you after a long while.
Thank you.
More than 10 years, it seems.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Gango 3 times.
Yes, sir. That was a golden time, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. Sir, is there any participant to ask question? They can ask the questions. So, sir,
Yeah.
So, if no more questions, then it's the time to conclude this technical session. Now, I request Professor Deepak Kumar T to propose vote of thanks. Over to Deepak, sir.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to propose vote of thanks on behalf of Principal IQAC, teaching and non-teaching staff, and myself. I wholeheartedly thank Professor Srinivasulu N S, Professor of Law, School of Technology Law, National University of Juridical Sciences, Calicut, West Bengal, for his excellent and very informative lecture. I would like to express sincere thanks to Professor K.B. Narayan, Principal of our institution, for his continuous support and encouragement. My sincere gratitude goes to Dr. M.S. Kumar, my friend, IQAC coordinator, organizing secretary, and assistant professor of biochemistry. Thank you for your showed support. I thank all the members of organizing committee for organizing this international multidisciplinary online conference. I am very grateful to believe participant members for attending this conference and their support. I also extend thanks to teaching and non-teaching faculties of our institution. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Srinivas sir, Tyagaraja sir, for attending the meeting. So, thank you very much, sir, Srinivas sir. And also, I thank all the participants. So, okay, so I'm going to end the meeting. So, if any queries regarding the conference or regarding publication or regarding the presentation from the participant, so they can ask or they can leave the message in the WhatsApp group or they can email to us so that we will clarify the doubts.